In this exercise, we are going to foam roll the serratus anterior. To set this up, I can either use a 6-inch ball, softball size or a little bit larger, or a foam roll. I'm going to start with the ball. For the serratus, it's that finger-like muscle coming across the ribs, and then the lat's coming along the outside. So I'm just going to try to get that ball in between the lat and the serratus anterior, right up against the ribs. So you do need to be careful with the amount of pressure that you're putting through this one. So for this, I'm going to set it up almost like if I was going to foam roll my lat. But I'm just going to let that ball roll to the front of my lat, or the inside edge of that lat. And there's almost like a little crease or a little corner there. And then I want to push towards the ribs. So I'm just rolling up into it till it hits the ribs. When I find the tender spot, I'm just going to hang out there. This is one that we're just going to sink into. So I'm just going to kind of take a few breaths and just kind of let myself sink into it. I prefer a larger ball like this Tim Tam ball for this one, mainly because it fits into that little nook, right? So it gets in my ribs, lat, and I can kind of sit in between there. It fits really nice. This Tim Tam ball is the right size, has a little bit of give to it. It's very nice. Now, if you don't have a ball, you can do this with a foam roller, but it's going to be a little more lat heavy or rib heavy because it doesn't fit in that little crease between the two muscle bellies. But for this, we'll set it up the same way. Almost like if I was doing lat, I'd be on my side, kind of working this way to hit the lat. So for the serratus, we're just going to come forward a little bit so that I'm catching it as it attaches to those ribs. And that's the same game. Find the tender spot, sink into it. Okay. Once you find the tender spot, work it for about 30 seconds. Research tells us 90 seconds to 2 minutes of foam rolling is going to do the trick. So, do 4 or 5 sets at 30 seconds each. Do the trick for you. Okay? That is serratus foam rolling. Now, the reason we would want to foam roll the serratus, a couple of reasons. A lot of times it's because we're having trouble with upward rotation of the scapula. So if you're a very lat dominant athlete, meaning you do a lot of pulling, you're doing a lot of pull-ups, you're doing a lot of throwing, volleyball players hitting, anything where you're pulling that arm down aggressively, you become very lat dominant. And by becoming very lat dominant, it actually takes that shoulder blade angle, and you'll see the scapular angle down. So it'll be kind of a downward shrug. Almost looks like you don't have an upper trap. In that scenario, that dominant lat pattern, we almost need to encourage the serratus to engage so that we can get that scapula to upwardly rotate and protract as I go to elevate the arm in the opposite direction. So if I'm pulling a lot this way, I need help coming this way. So that's one scenario where I use it a lot. The other scenario is similar in a way, but if you have an anteriorly tipped and protracted scapula, so that shoulder blade's rotated forward and around the front where it's closing off this front edge, a lot of times that serratus is kind of in a long, like a lengthened position, or I should say a shortened position as that scapula is pulled forward, and it just kind of gets tight in that protracted position as it's pulling that shoulder blade around the front. So what we want to do in that scenario is the same idea. Get that thing to release so that we can allow that scapula to rotate back. Remember, the serratus is going to pull the scapula forward or protract the scapula. So if you're stuck in that protracted forward position, we release that or try to cue it to relax, and that should allow that scapula to sit back, and then we can strengthen it from there.